And these are great lessons that I look back on now. It's like, what are the things that really drive energy, and create things? And it's not doing the things that you don't want to do.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Exploring You, our podcast to navigate you through the personal development jungle. We're talking all things personal development, trauma, mental health, etc., and mainly your well-being overall. My name's Darren Siegenberg from Elysium NLP and Mindcore CIC.
And I'm Alexandra Katzer, nature coach and forest bathing guide.
And our special guest today is Tina Devine. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for having the time to come on. That's great. First and foremost, then, who are you?
Who am I? Well, that's a deep question to start with, isn't
it? We aim as we meet to go on.
Well, I think it's an exploration that I'm currently on. Is That's a great question. Who am I? And I think that's been something that's driven my personal development journey, and it's changed and it's evolved. But right now, at this moment, I would say I am a creative. I am a mindset coach, hypnotherapist. I deal with visibility and branding and all things to do with AI branding tools. So I'm really exploring sort of the technology and creative avenues right now and having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I've seen some of the work that you're doing. It's quite diverse, if I can use that word, isn't it? I mean, you've gone from the business side of things and personal development within business to now using AI to. Is it? I'm gonna be right. I hope I'm saying it right, but it's more women that you're working with to make them what? I mean, is it a branding thing, or is it just to give them some light or some energy, or what?
It's all of those things, and it's not that I've gone from business into creativity. It's been a process over the last 4 or 5 years, and it probably started during the pandemic, where I started doing a lot of painting, a lot of artwork, as a way of sort of expressing whatever fears were coming up during that time, and just trying to step into feeling that freedom in your mind. Um, and it was like a permission slip, because I'd always done painting as a sort of a healing modality for myself. And it started to evolve, and I was doing hypnosis at the same time, and clients started to ask for the artwork, and somehow it merged into art activation journeys, where I would actually hypnotize clients, um, and get them to sort of vision their future selves using colors, using energy. It's got a language of its own. So sometimes we don't always know what we want, but the colors can come in and you start to get visions. And then I would translate that into energy paintings. And that's kind of where the journey started. So I was still doing business coaching. I was still helping them to, create their business, to have the mindset to be an entrepreneur, to be a business person. But the creative was just coming out more and more and more. And the more I tried to avoid it, and go back into, well, no, I can do procurement, or I can do, business consulting. It was almost like the barriers were coming up, and my soul was like, no, this is not your path. Your path is to trust that your passions are the way, and creativity is what lights me up. So kind of fast forward to the last few months, because it's a very new project, BrandMuse. And it was a way of getting more visibility, firstly for myself, because I think everything we do for ourselves, and it's just reflected back in the people that we work with and surrounded with. But also for me to be able to shine a light on other incredible women. It's not easy to toot your own horn. It's not easy to say, this is what I do, this is what I'm brilliant at. But I have this gift of really seeing people. And so I can really see where their strengths are, where they light up, where their passions are. And this comes a lot from the hypnosis that I do, because people will be saying, well, I want to do one thing, but I can see the resistance. It's like, you might think you want to be that, but actually you have a subconscious belief that you want to be doing something else. You just don't think that you can. And I guess with the AI, it's a way of exploring the future self. You could be creative, you can be fun, and you can almost step into new identities, you know. So it's playing with that, and whether people use it for their branding or just for their own personal motivation or incentive, like their own personal vision board, it doesn't matter. You know, it makes me feel good to be able to share other people's gifts, and it makes them feel good to be seen. I think that's fundamentally what we're all looking for, right? To be seen, to be recognized, to be witnessed. So it feels like it's a win-win. And then I can also combine all my knowledge with business and growth with it as well. So it's just kind of me giving myself permission to be creative in a business setting.
Mm.
I like it. I want to touch more on with it with the Brand Muse later.
Mm.
When you talk about your journey, you know, you've traveled a lot, you've seen a lot, you've been in a lot. So, you know, when someone's been in a hurricane and come out the other end, you know, that experience and everything that you've done, where do you see yourself when you see yourself back there and now? What's your journey?
Oh gosh, I think it started when I was very young. I was always into setting up businesses, and you know, the days of the network
Was you the one
marketing.
is you the kid with the lemonade on a desk outside the front house?
I was better. I actually had I used to run a little disco in the cellar, and I had a little tape recorder. Do you remember the little tape decks where you press play? And I had a torch with some colored lights, and I would play the music, flashing lights, charge people. I was living in Germany at the time, brought up in the forces, and I used to charge 10 pfennig, which is probably a couple of pennies, and then that money would get me sweets. So there was always like an end goal.
Cute. Love it.
An entrepreneur at 5. Love it. Absolutely love it. I can just see you with your little torch giving it all this, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
To wham.
Absolutely.
To wham.
So I think it was even before the days of Wham.
No, you're showing my age as well now. I know. Showing my age.
I know. Might have been the Nolan sisters or something, something like that, you know, way back then.
I'm saying nothing. I'm getting so so you've come from you've always been the business entrepreneur type. So where did it extend from that?
Well, I think I traveled a lot as a kid. So and that was part of the journey. I guess it made me twofold. It was like I was always trying to fit in so that I felt safe. You know, you're changing schools every 18 months, 2 years, you know, the new girl, constantly the new girl. But it also then developed traits of being like a people pleaser, not really being myself. I became, you know, an identity that I thought I should be. But I was always a seeker. I can remember from a young age, even saying to mum and dad, why am I here? Why am I here? Like I was always asking that question and, you know, driving them crazy. But it was part of the exploration, you know. So I did go down the lines of setting up businesses from a young age. I think I got involved with American companies, you know, back in the day of Amway and Clean Easy and all the hoo-ha, you know, and I loved all that positive mental attitude, you know, and it was a drive when I was sort of in my early 20s. And then I sort of explored more corporate, you know, getting involved with corporate businesses, but I would always flip back out into doing something that was more entrepreneurial, and just constantly guided to travel. Now that was probably instilled in me from being a kid. My brother was the opposite. He actually, you know, he got rooted and hasn't moved for 25 years. So it just shows that the energy, you know, affects you in different ways. But I was always like, no, I've got to go somewhere else. I've got to try somewhere else. And you know, from in my 20s living in Cyprus, 3 or 4 different times I went back there. So I'd come back to England, have a corporate career for a couple of years, as you think you should do. But then my heart would say, no, go out and explore something else, you know. And I remember living in Cyprus, I think in my 30s, and we started a magazine, a radio station. There was all these creative projects. I didn't know how to do these things. It was just there was a need. It was fun. It was light, you know. And and these are great lessons that I look back on now. It's like, what are the things that really drive energy, and create things? And it's not doing the things that you don't want to do, so that, I think that's what sort of has kept driving me to keep exploring, keep looking for the things that I want to do. And I think it was round about 2012, I went through a personal experience, went through divorce and redundancy, and it was like a accumulation of different things. And that's sometimes the thing that just pushes you, doesn't it? And I remember running off to Sri Lanka. Don't ask me why Sri Lanka. I just remember putting it on my credit card and going and spending 2 weeks in this beautiful sort of sanctuary. And it was all this Ayurveda and so much nurturing and care. And, they did all this massage and all this oil therapy. And that's when I started to wake up, I guess. I started to see colors and started to feel energy. And of course, at this stage, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that it was calling me to something. And so from there, I then started studying Reiki. And it was just like a journey then of, oh, how much can I learn? How much can I absorb? And all of the modalities, NLP, EFT, all the all the letters of the alphabet, hypnosis. And it wasn't so much about the thing. It was like, what is that thing creating for me? And it was just opening my mind. It was connecting me with other people on their journeys. It was helping to heal myself. And then I was able to share that knowledge, that energy with other people. And it just opened another possibility. And so then I got more brave, and I think it was 2015, 2016, I sold up everything and thought, no, this is my chance to really go and explore, and to also really trust, to let go of that control of things or material things. And so I started traveling then, and really got into online coaching and working with clients. And it was great because I could do it from anywhere. So even that was like a mind blown. I know it's very normal now, but back then it wasn't so much so. And then that took me on the journey of traveling all around America, Caribbean, and finally settling in St. Martin, which was just a little piece of heaven. It was just a tiny island with so many different cultures and salsa dancing and walks on the beach. It was just this living the dream. That for me was living the dream. It was peace in my mind, but it was short lived because then we got the hurricane. So again, it was like contrast. You think you've got everything that you want, and then something else happens. And I guess it's a test of how you deal with the contrast. How you master your emotions during the difficult times. It's easy when you're walking on the beach or out salsa dancing. So that's kind of got me to the point of 2016, 2017, when there was the hurricane.
To go from that, we've talked to so many people, don't we, our clients, and they go, yeah, I'll do this and I'll get so far, and it takes it all away from me again. You've taken a leap of faith. You've had your beginnings and your issues at the beginning, like you say, your divorce and moving around, etc. And then you've got to a point of this is the life, this is what I want. And then for something, pardon the pun, but the wind to come in and take it all away from you. How do you bounce back from that? Again, it was like so many people might just go, do you know what? I've had enough. I can't be doing this anymore. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
How did you bounce back from that?
I think that's a good question. And, it's like we can't always control the things that are happening around us, but we can control how we respond to it, how we react to it, and how we perceive it. And actually, there were so many gifts that came out of Hurricane Irma. And, right down to I was living there with a friend, and we were evacuated because we were close to the beach, and we ended up staying with another friend that was more up a mountain. But after the hurricane, our property was hardly damaged. All the ones around it had fallen down, but apart from a few roof tiles, but the house was still standing. And the place where we stayed, I mean, it did get quite scary because it was an older property, and the wind, everything was flying and crashing. And I just remember going into the little back room. We'd lost contact with the world. We had no connection. And it was right in the eye of the storm. And there was 4 of us squeezed into this like standing room only cupboard. And the guys were still, they were laughing and joking. 2 older guys, they were like, well, come on, girls, this could be your last chance. You know, we were trying to find humor in the situation. And for a moment, then it went very quiet, because you could feel the pressure building, and you could feel the storm. And in that moment, it was just a total surrender of, well, if this is it, this is it, you know. And I really was okay with it. I thought I've lived such an incredible life so far and done pretty much everything that I've wanted to do. And it was just that total trust of just letting it go. And then a few hours later, after it had passed and we went outside, our hire car, I was like, again, you're in shock. I was like, oh no, it's got a scratch on it. And my friend Christine was like, are you kidding me? Look at the other cars. They were all upside down with no windows. Like, we still had a car that worked. But in my mind, I was like, oh no, you know, this is from the hire company.
The bill you're going to get from the hire company. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be me, that. Not paying for that. Not paying for that.
And then the whole experience, I mean, of course, fear kicks in. People started looting. There was a lot of, I think that people out with machetes, like all the fear started to come. But we were kept really safe, and actually ended up, I think it was about 5 or 6 days later, manifesting a private helicopter to come and save us. It came twice because everybody thought we were crazy. They're like, no, there's no way there's a helicopter coming. But everything just aligned. We had so many people supporting us. I found a SIM card from an old phone that actually worked up on a mountain. We called it Communication Hill, that we could drive up to. We could get a signal that was just very, very weak. And then we were able to, you know, let everybody know we were okay. We were able to be rescued. We were able to be moved. I was moved to St. Kitts, to another beautiful villa. Then another friend moved us to Miami. Then I was moved to England. So it was like literally the universe was just guiding me. And my parents were living in Cyprus at the time, and they had just been out to see me. So they'd been out to see me, I think, in the June or the July. So I had no intention of seeing them anytime soon. But there was something that was kind of calling me. And so I left from England to go to Cyprus. And I think it was like 3 weeks after that, my dad passed away of a shock heart attack, which at the time was like hugely traumatic. But if I hadn't have been in the hurricane, if I hadn't have been moved, I wouldn't have got those last 2-3 weeks with him. You know, so it was almost this overwhelming gratitude of, all the other stuff doesn't matter. You know, I think I escaped with a little handbag with 5 pairs of knickers, because you've always got to be prepared. My computer, and I think there was a business book and some tarot cards, which kind of gives you an idea of the things that are important to me. But all that to say, you know, the situation, although it was traumatic, it did lead to another trauma. It was still very much guided. And these kind of experiences have got me to a place of more trust. It's like, always, life is working out for you. Life is working out for you. We don't know the how, you know, don't try to control how it's happening. Just trust that you are being guided, even when it feels really awful, you know.
I'm curious. I totally agree with you that this trust and letting go, surrender, and have this strong belief that life will work out for you. And even all the shitty things that are coming your way, you know, you always will only get the stuff or the things as much as you can handle, you know. That's what I strongly believe in. But for me, it was also a journey to go there. So it didn't happen overnight. So I'm just wondering, curious, what sort of were the key takeaways for you that brought you to that thinking or to that feeling? And also how did traveling help you to get to this point?
Oh, yeah.
if traveling was part of this.
Definitely. And you're right, it's a journey. You know, when we talk about these experiences, it's like, oh, you just change your mindset overnight and everything's okay. It's not. It's that it was a 40-year journey to that point, you know. But I think it was step by step. So it started probably in the early days with all the positive mental attitude, you know, the Tony Robbins of the world, the how to program your brain. And there were still downsides from that as well. But then the traveling and meeting different cultures, different people that had achieved things that I would have thought was impossible. So that sort of expands your mind. And then I started getting involved. I had a personal coach who was very much into law of attraction and Abraham Hicks. And so I started following that. So you kind of get guided, you know, along the way to different teachers and different philosophies. And for a time, that was amazing to be able to recognize that your thoughts are creating your energy, is attracting your vibration, is attracting. And I think that was good for a long time. But it was also kind of spiritually bypassing some of the darker energies that were inside. And again, you're only as aware as you are at that time. You only know what you know at that time. And so life will take you on other journeys. I know, Alexandra, we've got things in common in terms of, you know, plant medicine, and that was kind of my next journey was to actually explore some of the deeper energies, and that took me on a really dark shadow work journey, which for me was necessary, because it wasn't enough for me to just always think positive, you know, because you can be thinking something, but if you have a belief of something else, subconsciously you will attract those beliefs. So you've got to do the work on the beliefs as well. And it's an ongoing journey, you know. I think awareness is a one-way door. Once you start walking through it, you can't turn back, you know. You've taken the, what is it, the red pill, the blue pill? I forget which one it is.
Yeah, you take away one layer after the other, you know, and
Yeah.
then eventually you more and more get to know your true self.
Yes, exactly. And I think what the shadow work really, really taught me and was a real gift is that everything is both and, you know, good and bad, dark and light, you know, fear and passion. And I did a lot of this work through art, through colors. And that was a way for me to explore, what do these energies feel like? If you can't always, you know, put a language to it or a word to it, it's just a feeling in your body. Something felt stuck or something felt painful, or, you know, repressed memories, all of this stuff. And it's heavy in your body. So no amount of positive thinking is going to shift that heaviness until you actually face it, welcome it, integrate it. And I think, you know, for me, awakening was the easy part. The integration has been the journey. That's been the difficult part. But it's, you know, it comes with its blessings too, right?
Mm-hmm. What do you think are the key ingredients that are necessary for integration? Because if I recall correctly, I think you also spend time in Spain in the mountains.
Yeah.
For integration. And I'm just wondering, what do you feel, is necessary to integrate?
Space. I Looking back on it now, I probably didn't need to create as much space and isolation as I did, because that actually took me onto quite a dark journey myself. But I think just actually, you know, reflection, contemplation, and recognizing that everything is mirrored back to you with the people around you, the circumstances around you. And, you know, anytime I was judging something or someone, or irritated by something or triggered by something, just having that knowing, okay, this is in me. They're just reflecting that part back to me. And when you take that level of responsibility for how you feel, then you can start sitting with those energies and emotions. And it takes a lot of compassion, you know, to actually sit and face yourself and face your demons and actually realize, yeah, I am all of those things. You know, every energy, every experience, you know, from anger, rage, you know, right up to joy and happiness. We are all of those things. And yeah, for me, again, I used art to do that. I actually sort of worked my way to shift through every emotion and to express it through a painting, through journaling, through dancing, believe it or not, because any kind of somatic work that can release the energy. But the time in the mountains was a lot of time in nature, meditation, a lot of crying, you know, just whatever it took to release it. And there was an element of hiding, the shame that was coming up, and it was like, well, if nobody can see this part of me, then it's not happening. But it was happening, and that took me on to a time of like quite disturbed sort of mental experience, really, where it was very difficult. But again, I think all these tools that I've gathered over the years are what sort of pulled me out the other side, and facing it and just owning it, I guess, was part of it. Yeah.
You kind of epitomize these podcasts. You are this podcast. You know, when you look at even going back as a kid, you know, we tend not to think when we look at a forces child, the upheaval all the time, the constant change and everything. There's, you know, you're coming from that, and it wasn't something until somebody mentioned a few years ago that made me realize, as a forces child, the impact that has on your mental well-being. And then you've created this creativity that you have, you know, creating your little business schemes gives you that energy to and mixing in with other people. Like you say, it's good that you say that, how you put it, that you were trying to be a people pleaser, but how did that impact on you? Kind of, I hate to use the word, but kind of forcing yourself to be liked. How did that impact on you?
You know, again, it's where you're at the time, because for me, I didn't know I was people pleasing in the beginning. I just loved to be needed. I loved to please. Like it was a program, and I would go out of my way, and it was something that was reaffirmed back to me. Oh, you're such a good friend, or you're such a good daughter, or you're such a good this, or you know, you're so thoughtful, and you know, that was like a boost. It was a way of receiving love, a way of being seen, I guess. And it was only as experience, you know, once it starts to be out of balance, once it starts to feel like you're over giving and not able to receive as much, and then resentment builds up. So you might be smiling and pleasing on the outside, but you've got that resentment going on the inside, which was highly reflected to me with my ex-husband. And I think he was actually the biggest permission slip, because by moving out of that situation of someone who took quite a lot, well, I allowed it. That actually got me to explore the question of, well, what do I really, you know, what would feel better? And that was a process then of, and it's not an overnight thing as well. It's like you can't just stop pleasing people, because that was my safety. You know, I was known as the person with loads of friends all over the world and connections everywhere. And thankfully, I still have them, but I've lost some along the way. You know, it's the more you step into who you are and honor yourself and put yourself first, you know, that's difficult for some people. And so you will disconnect with people along the way. And that was my biggest fear, the biggest fear to not be liked, to you know, for someone to say something bad about me, because as a child moving constantly, I needed to be accepted, I needed to be safe, you know. So it has been a journey to find new ways of feeling safe, and boundaries has been a huge part of it. And what I've recognized is that the more boundaries I put up, the more barriers I can put down, you know. So it's like you're creating what feels good for you, and then you can be more of you, you know. And again, it's a journey, still something in process, you know.
When you look at that, and what I'm getting at is the contrast. What's the contrast between what you were doing then and obviously not just as a child, but later on as a person, married, etc. Where you're working with people now, you're still people pleasing in a sense, aren't you? So where's the contrast with that?
Because now it's coming from a place of I'm not people pleasing, I'm people serving. It's serving others, but it's serving me. And there are boundaries, you know. So an example might be that you're constantly available on your phone, or you drop everything in a heartbeat to go and do what somebody asks you to do, or you're overstretching yourself. When you have boundaries in place and you don't do that, then you can serve from a cup that feels full. I think previously I was drained. It was like I just kept giving and giving and giving and wondering why I felt terrible. Um, so it is still pleasing. I love to please people. I love them to feel good when they're with me and working with me and shine a light on them. It's definitely a gift that I've got. I see people, like I can see in their soul almost, I can see what drives them. But there is now a container, there is now a space where I feel safe, where I can give. So that I think that's the subtle difference.
I think also keeping boundaries, that's a big thing. Yeah. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. And that takes practice as well, it takes practice, and it's like you have an awareness of something and you can say, oh, well, you need to have boundaries, but it's not until you start implementing that it becomes part of your being. So that's where the integration comes as well. It's taking those actions and recognizing when you don't, and being compassionate when you still don't, and then taking that next step to implement,
Mm-hmm.
Pressing the fast forward on your little tape machine.
Yes.
bringing it closer to now. I'm interested in when you were saying before about hypnotizing people and then seeing what their true light is. How does that work? How do you see what somebody else, in a sense, isn't seeing about themselves?
Well, everything is within our subconscious or our superconscious. Every experience, every lifetime, every emotion, and it's just accessing that. So the hypnosis journey is just a way to actually tap in with the client, and they go on their journey. So we can jump timelines, we can go back in time, we can go forward in time. And I've sort of developed this method using colors to experience, well, where is that color in your body? What does it feel like? And for some people, as an example, they might feel red in their chest, and that might feel like fear, but for somebody else, it might feel like passion, right? So every color at that time is different depending on what the experience is for the client. And then you can actually start to play with the energy and move it, and you can move it outside of the body, you can change its form, because energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transmuted or changed, right? So if it's heavy, if it's solid, then we can turn it into lighter particles, and it allows them to tap into whatever memories are within that energy, if they so wish. Or we can just move it. You don't have to dig too deep. But then when they're visioning their future selves, they can actually, on timelines, they can connect with the future version of themselves. We have all these different parts of ourselves, all these fractals, and it's a way of connecting in with them and listening, giving each a voice, seeing each part, hearing each part, and asking, well, what feels good? And they can just vision it, and they can vision it in colors. And it started originally that through the colors, I would create energy paintings, which were literally just, you pouring the painting, but there'd be an intention and an energy in the painting. And I guess what I'm doing now is like an evolvement of that. It's more of a visual for somebody to be able to create an avatar of the new identity that they want to step into, whether that's, more fun, more playful, different shape, working in a different environment, whatever that is. It's getting that visual to start reprogramming the brain, if you like. So the hypnosis is just a great tool, but I'm the facilitator. I'm just guiding the client to go wherever they want to go. And sometimes it will take them into deeper healing. You know, it might take them back into their inner child, and there might be some shadows in there to integrate. Um, but other times it's playing with the future self.
Hmm. What do you where do you see your? I mean, we have what we've called the tipping point in the show. So I mean, where was your major tipping point, and where do you see your clients' tipping points? I mean, obviously everyone's different, but
Yeah.
where did they get to when they come to you and go, I need to change?
I think again that's a journey, isn't it? And it keeps evolving. So I would say when I ran off to Sri Lanka, that was the first big tipping point because I got to a point of, I guess, desperation. And it was like, I can't keep being what I'm being. Something has to change. And that led me down the path of exploring energy work and Reiki and all of that good stuff. And at that time, I attracted clients that were probably on the similar part of their journey, right? Because everything is reflective. I would say now, after the time of doing the deep shadow work and healing work up the mountains, where I felt very isolated, very hidden, it kind of makes sense for me to be doing something that's all about visibility, being bold, being brave, stepping out, being seen. And of course, that's then attracting clients that are at that part of their journey now as well, where they've had success, or they've been in a corporate career. They've got their business, but they're still in hiding. They're maybe in behind the scenes, or maybe the work that they're doing isn't what really lights them up, but they're too scared to really step into what they want to do. And I think because I got so low that I almost gave up, really. A year ago it was quite a dark time, and it was really, what's the point of this? I just thought I'd just been doing all of this inner work, and it just feels heavy and painful. And of course that's just going through the journey. Whereas now I can help people maybe not spend so long in that phase because I was looping. It's like being on an ayahuasca trip and not surrendering, and you're in hell. You just keep looping. And it was like an extended version of that. So I guess my desire is to help people to move through that process much quicker, and to feel confident to become visible in who they really want to be, because everything is identity. And our identities change all the time. They change with our programs, with our beliefs, with our desires. So why not create an identity of what you really want, and step into that. And if I can create images that help to do that, or help to stimulate or motivate that, then I'm excited for that.
I mean, do you feel that people have to experience that really low level? And when you say you kind of move it quicker, is that the right thing? I mean, when we look at, I mean, we've all three of us here have always had something that's we've got to a low point.
Yeah.
Is it a case of people experiencing that and then moving, or do you have to be? It needs to be a quick shift because you don't really appreciate where you're at until you're at your low point.
It's both, and because yes, you appreciate the good when you've been in the bad, but also it doesn't have to be stuck in that low energy for years and years and years. And I think what I want to offer as service, and to help others with, is to get out of the avoidance, because it's the avoidance, right? Whether it's you're drinking too much, you're having too much fun, you're sleeping too much, you're stuck, you're procrastinating. These are all signs of avoidance, or being stuck in the freeze mode, right? And you can't just overcome it by mindset. You have to do the energy work, you have to do the healing work, you have to shift your perspective. But if it can take a month or 2 months instead of 2 years, great. You have to go through it. I'm a great believer of that. The only way is through. But you get to decide whether you're going through and shifting fast or slow. And you know, I've worked with other mentors, but I think with this, because it was particularly difficult for me, I did do the avoidance. Although I was doing the inner work for myself, I wasn't really facing what I needed to face. And then that prolonged the experience. I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through that, you know. So if I can alleviate some of that pain and speed up the process, then I'm all for that.
BrandMuse. We've got obviously coming to now. I see these pictures, and I see this picture, and for the audience, there's a picture of Tina in this massive big high this chair, high back
My
chair
throne, my
with
throne.
your throne. Yes, your throne. That's probably the best way of putting it. It comes to like a really luscious red dress that opens out into a peacock.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Well, there is a story, and it's, you know, everything is linked, and you know, I can see all the signs along the way. So during the pandemic, when I started painting, the first painting that I did was of a phoenix rising, and it was surrounded by a butterfly and a golden world and all this abundance and opportunity. Um, and actually, when I look at it now, the part of it that was opening up, the heart of it, because it's on a map, was actually in Spain. So I do believe that my heart broke open in Spain. But the phoenix is also the red peacock. So this is me rising, I guess. That's what the symbolism is. And red has always been one of my favorite colors. And it's also root. It's your root chakra. It's your stability. It's your foundation. It's feeling confident and steady, and it's very bold, you know. So, and it's just fun to play with. It's like, oh, what else could I do with the peacock?
It is quite, because it kind of looks from a short angle, it looks like you're just in a red dress, but when you expand the picture out and you see the feathers and the colors and the circles on the feather, and it's like, hang on, where's the joining of it is fantastic, I must
Yeah,
admit. And
yeah.
then when you look at what you're doing with the other ladies as well, you see people as this masquerader, you know, this warrior princess kind of look. I mean, some of the others that I've seen, where does this idea, where does this creativity come from? How do they say this is? Do they say, I just want to look like Xena, warrior princess or something? What do they do?
Well, I mean, like all good projects, it started out as a bit of fun. So I didn't sit down and say, oh, I'm going to start an AI branding business. But I was playing with, well, what would give me, because I was doing a lot of painting in the studio, but I want the flexibility to be able to move around a bit more, to do traveling. So it's like, what could I do that would still have the same sort of impact? And I look back on all of the businesses and the little creative projects I've done, and I have always loved the branding part, you know, the name, creating the logo, what are the colors, what's the intention behind it? And I do that for other people so naturally. But again, it's like you don't give value to the things that you do so easy, right? So I started doing this whole AI branding course, and it was more just for my own benefit. I thought, well, this is a way to promote my other business, right? With the other services that I do. But there was just something there, and I was like, oh my, it's like this incredible tool where I can use imagination, creativity, you know, and really boost what people their gifts within themselves. So I started off just saying, okay, give me a word about you, and I'll create an image, just as if a fun thing. And the response was like really contagious. It's like, oh my God, could you do one for me? Can you do one for me? And I thought, okay, because then the entrepreneur's brain comes in. It's like, okay, how do I actually incorporate this into what I do? So now there's a whole process. So for somebody to have their BrandMuse avatar, they go on, and there's like a quiz that actually asks them questions about their desires, their future self, their preferences, what era they like, what fashion they like. And so they get to give me some ideas, but then I tune into them with my spidey senses, and then create something around what I think would be a part of their soul that's wanting to be seen. And, you know, again, it can expand from there in terms of Do they want to just have an avatar, or do they want to do loads of content creation around this? Do they want to launch a project that's about something in particular where they can step into a different identity? You know, it might be that you've got a passion for the 60s, or, you know, there's something regal about you that you want to show off the queen in you, right? So it's just a very playful, creative way, but it's very impactful, because when people see their avatars, and they, you know, and I do a brand spotlight and highlight just how amazing they are, they feel very seen, you know. And then what I'm noticing is that the energy, I can see the energy around them then changing. It's like all of a sudden something else is happening for them. They're starting to, I don't know, I'm not taking credit for it, but it's part of the activation, if you like. It's activating something in them, whether it's oh yeah, I'm that person. You know, it's like a vision board. You put something on a vision board and you step into it, and you get the car, you get the house, whatever the material things are. But it's an identity vision board, you know, so you can play with it. A lot of fun.
It's good. It's just like, it reminds me of like a holodeck on Star Trek or something. You go in, everything changes to how you want it to be. You want a bit different era or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how you do it for a brand if they've got a project to do. And I was going to say, how does it pick up on that? But you just said there that how people change with that image when they see themselves, that energy
Yeah.
that comes out of them. You know, how do they keep hold of that? Because obviously it'll wear off after some time. But where did they come back to you? Did they?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a package, if you like. If they want to do visibility coaching, if they want hypnosis to combine the parts of them, that's a big thing that I do. You know, you'll hear people say it all the time. Well, part of me wants to do this, and the other part of me wants to do that, and we are multiple.
Pass integration. Do the pass integration in NLP. Yeah,
Absolutely,
simple.
absolutely. And so that has been a big part. Um, and actually just recently did a session with a client who is amazing at what she does, in terms of business and business support. But actually there was this drive, this part within her that wanted to do more with tourism and eco travel. And you know, we saw the dolphins and we saw elephants, and we could see. And when she was telling me the different parts of her, I could feel the energy really strong around that part, which was kind of oh, well, it would be nice to do that. But really her soul is saying, no, this is you, this is your legacy, this is what you're here to do. And so it's an ongoing process. And like anything, you know, the awareness is step one, or the intention is the step one. You have to do the work to integrate it, to implement it, to be supported. So I offer the full range. So it's not just about giving you an image or a brand, or, you know, giving you a tool to be visible. It's also the support so that you actually become that person.
I look
And
forward
I
to
feel
seeing that one.
it's so important to know who do we want to be, or what do we want to do. We all know what we don't want, but we don't
Exactly.
really truly know what is it exactly that we want.
Right. And it's a trial and error, isn't it? And it's like, try
Yeah.
a bit of this. I mean, I look at all the different things I've tried, and it's like, wow, I am definitely not a one-trick pony, you know, multifaceted. And, you know, you hear all the marketing, well, you need to niche and you need to just have one messaging. And it's like, I don't fit in that box.
Yeah.
I really don't, you know. And I think for a long time I was trying to. And I think a lot of people could relate to that they're following the system of somebody else. Somebody else has been successful, so let me follow that system. Which, yes, there is good things to learn from that. But the more you can tap into who you really are, you know, and let go of all of those masks, and don't feel you have to copy anybody or follow anybody's path, you know. It's the more you that you are, you become magnetic. You know, you become the light, then you start attracting the other butterflies, you know. So it's an easier process.
I like that. The more of you, that it's more about you than anything
Yeah.
else. And we are controlled a lot in the corporate world, aren't we? Where we have to follow the lead, or with the sheep of, you know, I don't want to use that word because it kind of brings out other things. But we are sheep. We're guided by others.
Yeah.
To give the success for those others. So where do we get to the point where we go, do you know what, enough's enough? We need to be able to branch out for ourselves. And it's difficult because not everybody's got that opportunity. Not everyone's got whether the money or the time or the resources to do that. So how does somebody come out of that and go, okay, I need to be able to be me, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just on one of Tina's branding
Yeah.
images? How
Yeah.
do they do that?
Well, I mean, that's a great way to put it. And yes, a brand muse avatar it can just be for fun, right? It doesn't have to be, oh, this is my business or this is the version of me that I'm stepping into. It can be more of a, oh, well, let me just try that on and see how that feels. You know, I've always thought I might like to travel more, and then you can get some images around that. So it's again, it's your personalized vision board, right? And then you can start reflecting, contemplating, journaling. It's all the tools are there, whether it's 5 minutes a day, you know, just to explore. You know, I do this, I don't know if you've read the book The Artist's Way, where they have this thing where you wake up in the morning and you just write 3 pages of whatever comes out of your mind. And it's so surprising. You know, it's just those first thoughts before you pick up your phone and start looking at your Facebook or whatever your messages. And so there's these little ways of just exploring, you know, through creativity, through doodling. We were joking about doodling before, but sometimes you can just sit and doodle. These are all tapping into your subconscious. That's where your soul is, that's where your desires are. And it's trying to let you know, what it is that you want. And so it's exploring it. It's a game. It's something you can have fun with. You don't have to get the answer. What is my purpose? That's not the question. It's what brings me joy, what lights me up, what am I good at, what do I do effortlessly, that I could get paid for. These are just like little questions that you could start playing with, and it can be a step by step. Nobody's saying take a leap and jump out of one job into another, although that tends to be the way I do it. But yeah. Somebody catch me.
Somebody say, you do your CV and you're not supposed to do like 2 pages. Well, when you start like get a notebook come out, it's a bit different. It doesn't look good to some extent. But it's interesting because someone told me about the Lionsgate ritual over the weekend or over a few weeks ago, and I actually did it myself. Now, I'm not normally the spiritual type, as Alexandra will tell you, but I actually did this ritual last night. I even went, believe it or not, I actually went out running around different places trying to find crystals. I actually finally got some, and I was talking to the lady about it, and was trying to get the right crystals for me for this. And I come away, and like I said, at the end of this particular, the way you're doing it, you had to spend 20 minutes just writing something down, everything that came from you. And I'm just writing, and you do get into a flow of writing down and expressing yourself and what you really want to do, what you really are, and having that understanding of you in a sense and getting it all on paper. So it's quite interesting to some extent.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that.
I know Alexandra's smiling her head off there in the back.
I'm like, hang on, is this the Darren I know? What's going on?
Everybody's going to say that's not him. He's got to be someone else. Is he cloned? Is he somebody else? But no, it's about. I mean, I think back in the day, I wouldn't have gone into anything like this. But since doing NLP, I'm more open to see and more, to see things and try things. Reiki, we've done hypnosis, we've done EFT, I've done EMDR, all this different things. And normally I would have gone, yeah, right, whatever. But it is just giving that chance. It might not be for you. It might not be something that you resonate with. And you might think, yeah, well, no, that's not for me. But there'll be something that will be. It's just getting the opportunity and just going, do you know what? Just do it.
Right. Like you want different, you got to try different, right? You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So yesterday was a huge energy day for me. I mean, I don't know how many hours I spent in meditation and creation, and I actually did the writing to myself from 2025. So I wrote it like it's already happened, you know, because then you're in the energy of, I have this. There's no lack. There's no, I want it. Because if you're saying you want something, you're telling the universe, I don't have it, right? So that's the conflict as well. And so it was really fun and really playful to just really sit in that energy of possibilities. And that's what the mind is. It's a computer. It's a receiver of information, and or a perceiver rather. So we get to perceive whatever we want it to be.
Absolutely. Right. We've gone right up to an hour or so. I think we've just gone over these. Again, like I said, I think you kind of epitomize the podcast. It's that development of oneself. You've gone from, whether it be from one tragedy to another, to say this is my life, and then it all taken away, and then starting again and again and again. And it is that process. We are constantly developing. It's that change that we're always going to expect. It's a constant thing in life, along with birth, death, and taxes. So it is change, and we have to adapt to that, don't we? We have to embrace that. I'll get my words out. And doing things that we might not be able to do. Like Alexandra said, we know what we can do, or we work out what we can't do, but we never even give it a chance to what we can do. So it's great that you've been on and shared that with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've loved listening to you today. It's brilliant. So now we've got 5 minutes of fame. The floor is yours. Sell yourself to 25 to 50 audience. No, I'm only kidding. We've got more than that. I'm sure we have. But please sell yourself. Who are you? How do people get in touch with you, and what do you do?
Perfect. Well, people can get on in touch with me via my website, which is BrandMuse.ai. All my contact details are on there. And come and have a call with me. Come and have a discovery call. They're free, and let's just play. Let's just see what we can do together. If you're looking to get more visible, if you want to stand out of the crowd, if you want to feel more confident, if you want to boost your business, or if you want to make a change into more of a passion project, and really trust where you're being called, then I'm definitely the guide that can help you and do that shift as quickly and as painlessly as possible. And I'll be there in your corner, being your champion, So I'll be very excited to support in any way.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tina. Anything else, Alexandra?
Just thank you. That was really interesting, and I enjoyed listening to you and your story. And everyone knows the drill. Give us a like, a comment, a share. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, check out our YouTube channel. As always, supporters, Promo Doodle, the Professional Bodyguard Association, Burnley District Motorcycle Group, Mira Gavaccio. She's doing well at the moment. So she's having a treatment, so she's doing well. And good luck to Dion and helping her out with that. And obviously Taylor's of Liverpool. If you want a nice quiet place to go for a drink and a bite to eat, by all means go into the secret bar down there. Donations, again, we always gratitude for any donations that we go towards our retreat and training centre for men and veterans with mental health. On Easy Fundraising, we've got the Mind Corp, and we've also got GoFundMe, a retreat and training centre. So that's all from me. Thank you very much again, Tina. Really great to see you again. And Alexandra, always a pleasure to see her. And so thanks everyone, and look forward to the next show.